You know, I've never seen that much writing since The Shining. Okay, I've never seen The Shining.
For sure, if we fade, then it's a lie. But you know we are the sun, and we'll
This is Lost Thoughts for episode 4 entitled The Substitute. This week we'll try to see how this episode adds up. Wonder how Ben got his degree to teach. And try to make a new rule. If you see someone in the jungle that others can't see, don't go chasing after them. This episode proved many things. As I've been a proponent of for many seasons, if we are patient with the show, we will get rewarded. And guess what? This episode was a goldmine. There were 2 specific major things that I was corrected on. Number 1, the sonogram date was a mistake. The producers have confirmed that it was supposed to be September 22nd, 2004. So sad. I mean, that ruins my theory about Aaron being born in 10 days with the whole title LAX. Number 2. I was wrong about the title of the episode, The Substitute, and I can't be more happy to find out that Locke was actually a substitute teacher. And the fact that he actually meets Ben blows your mind. This episode starts off in the Boom world, where we see Locke's van act as if it's been through a drag race with a Dharma van. And knowing how much that Locke is actually capable of, it's really sad to see him have such crummy luck. Falls out of the van, the sprinklers go on. There's Helen! In the Boom world, he's still with Helen. Awesome! She mentions them getting married in October, again proving that the date was wrong on the sonogram. And then Helen throws out a single line that throws my entire view of the show into a tailspin. Helen mentions something about getting her parents and Locke's dad going to Vegas and get married. She mentioned Locke's dad as if Locke and Anthony Cooper are now cool with each other. If this is true, are we to assume that Locke's dad didn't push him out of an 8-story window? And if Anthony Cooper didn't push him out of the window, the question becomes, how did Locke get paralyzed in this reality? I love tiny details that throw me for a time loop. Back in the Dud world, where we find out that Locke can travel the island at light speed like a metro. Why would he walk anywhere? And he's keeping Richard up a tree. Sweet. Back in the Boom world, we find out that Locke lied to his company as well about going to Australia for this walkabout. I mean, I just hate Randy so much. Locke's fired? Randy. Back in the Dud world, where we find out that Locke was a candidate. A candidate for what? Whoa. Richard was following Jacob when he could have been following Flock? Does this imply that Richard had the choice of following one over the other? This conversation between Richard and Flock has so many parallels to the serpent in the Garden of Eden. Flock says that Jacob was unwilling to tell them the truth and he'll tell them, just like the serpent is trying to convince Adam and Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge. This whole episode was ripe with parallels to the temptation and fall from the Garden of Eden. Who the heck is that little boy? Was Flock the only one who saw him? Why? How? When? What? Why were his arms bloody? Alana's collecting Jacob's ash for later use, maybe? Now Flock is recruiting? Recruiting for what? Based on the rock music and alcohol, I'd like to say that Sawyer's fallen into what I like to call Lieutenant Dan syndrome. I thought you were dead. I am. What? I don't give a damn if you're dead or time traveling or the ghost of Christmas past. Can someone explain to me why Josh Holloway has not won an Emmy? And Sawyer knows that he's not the real Locke. How awesome is that? The most important question, why are you on this island? For me, the most important question is, how is this show gonna end? Well, I guess I better put some pants on. Best line of the episode, I dare you to challenge. Back in the Boom world, and there's Hurley's yellow truck blocking Locke in. We've known for a few seasons that Hurley was the owner of the box company and Locke worked there, and I've been waiting forever for them to have a scene together like this. All that happens is Hurley refers him to a temp agency that he owns so Locke can get another job. Where is this episode going? Back in the Dud world, and real Locke is getting pretty ripe. Maybe put some Febreze on that. Sun's going to the temple? Jin's at the temple. Maybe they'll finally get to see each other. Who the heck is this little kid? And now for some reason Sawyer can see him? You know the rules. you can't kill him. Is he referring to Jacob or is he referring to Sawyer? Don't tell me what I can't do? Are you serious, Flock? There's gotta be some significance behind the fact that Flock saying that line that Locke is so famous for. Is the young kid a young Jacob or a young Aaron or somebody from Flock's past? What's going on? Richard trying to save Sawyer and bring him back to the temple. This scene kind of seemed unnecessary, because you know that Sawyer wasn't going to go back. But I guess it did serve its purpose as Richard giving his opinion as to what Flock's really after. Back in the Boom World, and you know what? This temp agency is weird. Not only is Locke being interviewed by the woman that was the psychic that was hired by Cheech Marin to make Hurley believe that he wasn't cursed by the numbers, but I would describe myself as an owl, because I ask a lot of questions. Come on. You'll get the pun. I wonder who his supervisor... It's Rose! This episode is like a treasure hunt. First Locke runs into Jack, then we get to meet Helen again, then Hurley, then Rose. Who's next? Rose still has terminal cancer. That's just sadness. But you know what? I love Rose because she gets right to the point. Back in the Dud World, Sawyer is still talking about the Book of Mice and Men. Nope. After my time. Wow, that implies that Flock was from a time before 1937 when Of Mice and Men was originally published. But being before 1937, he's got to be older than 70 years old. But then again, we saw him when the Black Rock arrived at the island, and according to Lostpedia, the Black Rock disappeared in 1881, which would make him probably over 126 years old, give or take a month. What I am is trapped. Maybe Flock doesn't want to go home to the temple. Maybe Flock wants to go home off the island. I guess we're led to believe that Flock is trapped by Jacob. And by getting Jacob killed, he somehow has a way to escape now. He lost someone he loved? Who? Get it? The owl thing. Sawyer's close to what? The temple or the truth? It's almost as if Flock is talking directly to the viewers of Lost. For so long, so many have grown impatient. And we're so close to the end, it would be a shame to stop now. Alana says that Flock is stuck looking as he is now. Does that mean that we're never going to see the actor again who played him at the end of Season 5? Cause he was pretty cool. Oh wow, we've made it back to the Losties' funeral plot. Like a trip down memory cemetery. And after all these years, Locke is finally added to the body count. Once they bury Locke's body, does that mean something significant opposed to if they didn't? I mean, for the longest time, there was a theory out there about bodies that were buried opposed to bodies that weren't buried. Some bodies who weren't buried were able to be seen in visions on and off the island, and it seemed like bodies that weren't buried were ones that were able to be taken over by the island somehow. Of course, there are many glaring exceptions to that rule, but there has to be a significance behind the others having that burning of the body ceremony rather than burying them. And of course, burning the bodies creates the ash. Oh my gosh, I love Ben's speech right here. Classic Michael Emerson. And of course, Frank has to say something to break the moment. And Lapidus, you're here for comedic relief. Back in the Boom World, and Locke's finally gonna call Jack. Oh, wait, no he's not. With Locke getting his lost knives back, what will he do with them in the real world? They wouldn't let him go on the walkabout. Yes, Locke just confirmed it. Now we know that he lied to Boone when he was on the plane. Locke has lost his faith in miracles. Of course he has. Not going on this walkabout was the straw that broke the camel's back, and being able to walk once he was on the island was what restored his faith. You know, I love Katie Sagal. She is such a gift of an actress to the show. Back in the Dud World, and wow, that was some great stunt work. You know, for a moment I thought that Sawyer was done for, but, you know, then I realized he's Sawyer. He's not gonna die. If he did, millions of housewives would be raging war against ABC. I see a black and white stone on the balance, and there the white stone goes sailing. Inside joke? Fantastic! Oh my gosh, their names are written on the cave walls. Oh my gosh, do you see how many are crossed out? Here are the ones that are not crossed out. Number 8, Reyes, Hurley. Number 15, Ford, Sawyer. Number 16, Jarrah, Saeed. Number 23, Shepard, Jack. Number 42, Quan, don't know which one it is, Sun or Jin. Now obviously these are the people that are still alive, but there were some names that were crossed out of people who are still alive on the island. Number 117, Linus, Ben. Number 171, Strom, Miles. Number 313, Littleton, Claire. So the question becomes, what determines if your name is crossed out or not? I mean, we assume that because Flock crossed out number 4, Locke, that he did that because Locke died. Unless we consider the fact that Claire and Ben could be compromised due to the fact that Claire could have died in the freighter attack on New Otherton, or that she has the darkness growing inside of her, or that Ben was changed when he was brought to the temple to be healed and he was put in that pool of water. Of course, Miles can talk to the dead, and we have no idea how he got his power. Boom World, and we find out that Locke is a substitute teacher. The substitute. I mean, look what they got him doing. He was making the girls run in gym. He was teaching the human anatomy and health. I mean, it seems like Locke really enjoys what he's doing. Then we get to the teacher's lounge where we hear that wonderful voice of Michael Emerson. Ben is a teacher at that school. Wait a minute. He teaches European history? I kind of feel like this is a middle school. I mean, I think that's a little bit advanced for them, unless it's a combination with a high school. Back in the Dud World, and Flock is saying that Jacob wrote all these names. Why would Jacob bring people to the island only to see them die? But can we really trust Flock? Anything he says might be considered a lie in order to get what he wants. He says that everyone's been brought to the island to be a candidate to be the new protector of the island, taking the place of Jacob. Protecting the island from what? Apparently nothing, according to Flock. Maybe Flock can't leave the island unless he's with someone? That's why he wants and needs Sawyer. Are you ready to go home? Hell yes. Wow. Confused. And lost. The response for this episode was great. I mean, a lot of people were discouraged after what Kate does. I mean, again, I stand by the fact that Lost is an amazing show regardless of the individual episode. I mean, it's funny that people consider an episode to be great by the number of answers that are given in it. But what people don't realize is that in those episodes, we get 10 times as many questions. Somebody pointed out that in 1977, Ben Linus was still with the others when the bomb went off. I mean, think about it. He was healed by the others. He was in that tent with Charles Widmore. The evacuation of the island was ordered by the Dharma Initiative, but Ben was nowhere to be seen. So how did he make it back to the real world? And how did he get his degree to teach European history and teach at a school in California? How did the logistics work? A lot of people are going through the screenshots of the name cave to see who else is written up there. Some of the names that came up were Jones, Mattingly, and Cunningham. They were names with the 1954 U.S. Army, the team that got obliterated by the others. We even saw the name Gary Troop, the guy that was sucked into the turbine on the very first episode of Lost. The overwhelming evidence that was displayed, or not displayed, in this episode was the fact that Kate's name was not on the wall. Many are trying to speculate that Kate's number is 108, and that implies that she is the most important character of the show. But I would honestly cry if that were the case. Next week's episode, Lighthouse. Just so you guys know, next week is the 108th hour of Lost. Wink. Lighthouse could be a reference to the lamppost, which was a Dharma station that they used to help find the island. But of course, a lighthouse is a device used to aid sailors and pilots in navigating the sea. Also, lighthouses are used as a warning that there are dangerous coastlines or reefs, and to mark where there is safe passage. I love it how all I have to do is read a Wikipedia page and everyone understands how it relates to the show. You know, I love inside jokes. I hope to be a part of one someday.